My name's Nat, and I was here that traditionally about less than 5% of audio from a movie is pulled from production sound. I was just wondering how often you pull from production sound, if ever, and what.
You mean the other than the dialogue? Or
Right.
yeah, not a lot, because the main idea of the production recordings is to capture the voice and the performances. So there's usually not hardly anything in there. Sometimes there is. There's door closes or footfalls that sound great. The guys recorded a boom mic, and the actors are exiting, and they picked it up. I don't know. It's just one of those things that happen, and they sound great. So yeah, we'll go with it. It's probably about 5 or 10%, if even that. Most tracks are all built out with time, whether it's animated to full-on, live action. The sound crew has to build it out. Everybody, Foley, everything, backgrounds, and you can dump it. If you just want to go with the production sound, mostly not, because it's sometimes lavaliers or radio mics, and it's production voices are used quite a bit unless it's a big action movie. There Will Be Blood. Paul Thomas Anderson hates ADR. I think so we try to save as much production as we can. Most directors like what was shot on the set. If they can keep it, they will. If they don't, they have to go back. And it's hard to put the actor back into the scene when it's 4 or 6 months later, But good actors, that's their job. They should be able to do it.
All right. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Tosh.
Hi, Tosh.
Thanks a lot for coming. It's
You
really a
bet.
pleasure.
Thanks for coming out.
I just wanted to ask, you said it's about putting yourself in the right place at the right time, but how you have to put yourself there. Where would that be? What are some tips?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Where were they? Well, look, for when I got out of school, where did I want to work? Recording studio. So what did I do? I got my resume together, and I went to every recording studio in the Bay Area, and I knocked on the door, I called them up, and made an appointment to hand my resume over to somebody. Whether it went into the trash the next minute, I don't know. But I made my presence known. And there was no emails. There was no, any of this social networking stuff like that. So it was really literally knocking on the door. Bang, bang, bang,
Which it's tough now because you can't always go into.
Yeah, they're really tough to, I'm sure it's tough to even get an appointment these days. But that's where I started. I wanted to work in recording studios. That's what I wanted to do. And so I did. When I did, I was the first job I think I did was probably sweeping the floor and cleaning the toilet and running and getting lunches, and then once at Hyde Street I walked in to talk to the studio manager at Hyde Street, and they were upstairs in the upstairs recording studio. They were rebuilding it and painting, and he was sitting there, and I said, I'm so-and-so, and I've heard you've called several times, let me see your resume. He grabbed it, and he's like looking at it and going, okay, you know music, you went to Berklee School of Music, you know how to do this, you know how to do that. Do you know how to paint? And I said, what? You know how to use that brush and paint? And I said, yeah, good, because I need that painted over there. If you want to work, get over there and start painting. And I said, okay, fine. Yeah, am I hired? You're hired if you can paint that. So he hired me, and they paid me for like a week, and then they couldn't pay me anymore, but they said, you want to come in, we'll trade you studio time. We don't have any money to pay you, but if you want to bring in a band, you guys get to do it here. That's the thing I saw here. Bands come in here, and you get to record them, and you get to screw it up and figure out what you did wrong. That's the key to learning, is making it bad. So, that sounded you can't do that. Man, when you're in the real world, there's no clients are paying money. Woo, boy, it's nasty. It can get ugly. So you got to make sure you know what you're doing. And it's great to have a school here that you could. And in Berklee School of Music had this similar kind of thing, maybe not quite as elaborate, but it's incredible that you guys get to sit here and kind of mispatch stuff. I mean, I sat in a studio and I mispatched something once for the guys from the Prince from the Time, Jesse Johnson, the Time, and boy, it was an ugly sight. It's like, all I want is this compressor patched into this thing. Can we not get that? I was like, I'm getting there. I had patch cords everywhere. It was a mess, and I was trying to follow it, and I'm trying to, So yeah, to be able to work it out ahead of time is great. So yeah, you guys are very fortunate. But to get into the door, I don't know. You got to knock, and there's different ways of knocking now with the social
I was just gonna
networks.
say, and networking, and what about, we were talking about networking, personality, character traits, how you meet people,
Yeah.
all this important stuff. That's a
Yeah,
part.
it's how you approach people. It's how you come off, and not to be overbearing, but to be, hey, this is, look, I left college going, I don't even know who I am, what I want to be. All I know is I want to work in music and I want to work in a recording studio. And I tried really hard to get in at first, and I didn't. So I had to work a regular job, and then I eventually got in. And slowly, depending on the community you pick, you want to work at. Is it going to be in the Bay Area? Is it in visual effects? Is it a model shop? Is it in recording studios? Is it with bands? I mean, I did live sound half the time before I got into a studio. I hooked up with a couple bands that they would drag me along. I said, I'll do the sound. Fine, you do the sound, kid. We can't pay you anything, but you do it. So there were nights I was going out, the Stone in San Francisco, to all these old clubs that probably aren't existing anymore. And I was doing sound late at night with these bands just to get out there and to play around. I didn't know anything about live sound. There was monitors, and the one thing the school never taught me, because I was interested in recording studio, was live sound. Man, there's feedback going, what the hell? I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
But I had a house guy, and he would teach me, and then you just start learning, and then you get to know your name, and then you come back again, and I don't know. You just kind of have to keep persistent and find all the resources for your avenue. And the school has a great resource for the end of here, so they can point you in the right directions. Whereas when I left Berkeley, there was no what direction. I had no direction. They were just like, "You're done. We showed you how to make a resume. Now go. Where are you going? I'm going to San Francisco. Good luck. See ya. Go on." And now they've set up a network, just like you guys, but you have a whole team here that helps you. They have people that worked at ILM. They have people that worked in the Bay Area or know, this whole thing. And now the college where I went to is starting to do very similar things. Is they get a networking of people, because they've learned networking with people, personalities, and constant contact back and forth start to yield things. It's like, oh, we need to find somebody here. We need, do you have anybody for something that's interested in, engineering?
Can I piggyback on this too? Somebody sends you a reel, somebody graduate from
Yeah.
school. Your expectation as a potential employer and a professional, knowing that they've just come out of a school, whatever, what is going to be something that you're going to want to see, and what's something that's going to be you don't want to see?
Well, I want to see some creativity, that's for sure. Is things for me in the sonic side of it? Is it well balanced? Hey, it sounds pretty good. It sounds good. Obviously they can work a Pro Tools system. Somebody edited this. If they've done the whole thing, and then if the project intrigues me, wow, it's very interesting. Then what else has what I'm looking for? What else has they done? Where did they? Okay, they went to the school. They're doing this. They're trying to find a job. So those are kind of the things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the character traits a little bit. What has he done? What have they done? Like, oh, they participated in live recording or at the school, or they
Right.
participated in these other extracurricular things that are of the same vein, or they're in a band and they're pursuing both things, trying to figure out, because that people are. You guys are trying to figure out who am I and where am I going to be placed. I didn't find that out till, I don't know, 20 years later, and I ended up in film. Who would have thunk that? I didn't think that. I was in music, and the next thing you know, I started doing film slowly, and trying to discover who you are or what place you have. So,
How long, if someone sends you a demo reel, not just resume, but demo reel,
yeah,
how long should each piece be, in your opinion?
very short.
How-
Look, for me, I can sit there and watch 4 or 5 minutes probably. I'm not sure about other people,
That's
but
what
I know people in the industry.
2 minutes or less, right?
Yeah, if it's 30 seconds, like
Right.
gone. I mean, me, I can, if I get captivated, okay, I'll watch it a little bit, and then other people I know.
Yeah, but they're approaching everybody, so.
Yeah, other people I know, it's literally like, if you get them to watch it, number one,
Really?
it's great. And then it better be good right off the bat, or at least, perk their interest up a bit. I don't know. The things not to look for is someone overly too pushy, something over dramatic. I think is just trying to be over the top. Too much is sometimes a push off. Just like it's almost too good. Sometimes I don't know if that's a good way to say it. It's almost they know what they're doing. It's way too good. They're way beyond. And you go, well, I'm more because I come from literally trying to make the greatest resume in the world so that somebody takes notice. So, but others I don't since I don't really hire and fire so much, but I'm always looking for people who are interested. There's been some people that have contacted me and just been a little persistent, and then they start to show interest, and they're off working in other places, but we stay in contact, and then you never know, something opens up. Hey, there's somebody over here who you might want to look at. And there was a guy recently who was really trying hard to get in at Skywalker. I brought him out. I introduced him to people. He was continually trying to, slowly doing it. They just weren't interested at Skywalker. They were just, I handed it off. He ended up getting a job in Los Angeles. So he moved to Los Angeles, went down there, and now he's working at Warner Brothers. And then, we stay in contact. Hey, how's it? It's going great down here. I'm doing this and doing that. And I told him, you go down there. He started in a small spot. I said, but the great thing in that, if it's post-production and you can't get in up here, that circle down there, everybody starts to learn. And like for me, I didn't get a lot of credit when I started mixing movies. I barely got on the screen. They wouldn't give me credit. He's just mixing the other things. I never really cared about it because someone told me early on, don't worry about the credit. Everyone who's working knows what you did. And that word travels. In the social world, it travels. So having a ton of credits now, because that's what I've done, but early on, and people are always striving, I need to be the sound designer, the editor, the mixer, the everything. I think credits come eventually for you. And for me, and one of the greatest advices I got was don't worry about the credit. People know in the industry, because it's such a small group in post-production, they know who's doing the work and they know who's not doing the work or who's legit and who's not. And if you continually just apply yourself and be honest with yourself and just try hard, work hard, I think that speaks volumes to so many other people in the industry. I think that character trait just speaks loudly of and there's a couple people at Skywalker who have done that, got on as interns and turned them into a position. And now they don't work all the time, but they're working. At least they're working and getting paid.
And then Josh Gold, our graduate, you work with
Yeah,
him, right?
work with Josh, yeah. So he's one, It just a matter, and sometimes the timing, like I said, I worked a regular job for a year after I got, at least a year, maybe 2 years after I got out of school and I was working part-time for free at recording studios. But again, I knew the recording studios in the Bay Area, which was not the hub of everything. Nashville was the hub. Los Angeles was the hub. New York was the hub. But my home was here, and I knew the history of San Francisco a little bit in the late 60s and into the 70s. And I knew there was musical history here. It wasn't big, but it was
Sustainable.
it was sustainable. And so I started meeting engineers and doing the same thing you're doing, asking questions. Can I keep in contact with you? Would you request me next time? If you liked how I prep, your session, would you request me next time? And that's what would happen was I was getting requested. So.
But you met people in person. That's what we were talking about.
Well,
too,
yeah,
when you can.
You do when you can, and I don't know. It's a whole new world out there for you guys with all the social media that you can contact people. Like I couldn't contact. You can contact different people now. They're on Facebook. They're on all these different sites, and I don't know if you get responses from famous people or whatever, from top engineers or re-recording mixers or sound designers, but they're accessible by social media, where in the past it was never accessible like that. You could barely get a phone number. Right. It was like, I don't know where they work. I met a producer named Daniel Lenoir many years ago, and I knew of him, but I didn't know. And at the time, he came to San Francisco looking for a microphone that he wanted to record some vocals with. And I met him, and I hit it off with him. We had a good time. It was just, I was an assistant engineer, and all I was good at doing at that time was the studio manager, Dan Alexander, actually called me and said, this guy's coming. He's going to check out a microphone. You got to hook it up, make sure it works. He wants to buy it. So he came in, but he was such a gentleman, and I hit it off. And then, I just happened to be in the place at the right time. And next thing I know, he's telling me, I said, so what are you working on? He's like, I'm doing a Peter Gabriel record. I was like, oh my God, really? What's the microphone for? It's for his vocal. Oh, what record? It happened to be the record So he was working on at the time. I didn't get to work on it, but I got to meet the guy in the middle of the process. So it was really, and he was such a wonderful guy. And he gave me such encouragement. He goes, assistant engineers, they get crapped on all the shit on all the time, and you got to do this. He goes, but just keep at it. One day something will break. So he was very inspirational in that sense. And then, so I don't know. To address those issues, I'd say put yourself in the places. And at times for me, I don't know about anybody else and other people, but for me it was very frustrating at times. Gosh, I remember doing one session. I was going to get to engineer a session, and I was changing. They had a water tank, one of these water tanks. And they weren't plastic bottles then. They were glass bottles. And this was at High Street. And they were like, you're going to get the engineer. But first you got to, clean the area up, put the fresh water on. I put the fresh water on. I put it on. It tipped over. It shattered all over the floor. Brand new carpet. 5 gallons of water. There went my engineering job. I had to go out and get a vac that could suck up water. Someone else had to come in and engineer. And I'm sitting out there going, son of a bitch. Is this ever going to work?
Really.
It was a drag, man. But that, I don't know what this,
Patience.
I kept at it. I just said,
Patience and
okay,
perseverance.
fine, I got screwed out of that one. Whatever. What am I going to do, Because the studio manager was like, you're not engineering. You're going to clean this fucking brand new carpet, man. How you gonna, yeah, I had no money. It was like, they knew that though, but it was like, well, we'll get, Zach to engineer it. You're done. You're done for the day. Clean that up and get out of here. So, I don't know, plastic bottle should have came along sooner. But that's just the way things go. You just keep at it, and I knew I loved it. Again, it felt good when I did get in the studio. I was part of the process. Got to hang out with bands. Got to talk to guitar players or drummers while somebody else is cutting tracks, And one of the great things I always loved was, real quick, was when I started working and running and getting food for artists or guitar picks or go up to Guitar Center and go grab this stuff or whatever. I always found it fun because I knew what Grace Slick liked to have on her sandwich. Or I knew what Ronnie Montrose loved. You know what I mean? I turned it into like, I know it's not the greatest job, and I'm the guy running around getting everything, or sharpening pencils, or getting guitar picks. But you know what? I know more than what most people know about this person now. And
you connected with the artist that way too, though.
Absolutely.
All
You
the runners,
connect.
all the gophers, they loved them.
Yeah,
They hung out
yeah.
with them. They took care of them.
Totally. It was a good spot to be in for a little while.
Yeah, right.
Or
Okay,
however long it was. It was a while sometimes before I got.
Well, thank you. That was
You
really
bet.
inspirational. And again,
Good.
thanks
I
for
hope
being here.
I hope
It was a
so.
privilege.